everyone, welcome at Venomous World and Exotic Pets 101. This time I wanted to do something different and something about non-venomous animals. And I wanted to show you some enclosures, including some information about specific animals, with every animal its own video. So this time I'm going to talk about Brachydactylus auriculatus, or also called gargoyle gecko. Let's take a look if my camera wants to focus. Yeah. Auriculatus means literally ears in Latin. And gargoyle gecko is their common name, and you can see the little head bumps if it wants to focus. Look at that beautiful face. You can see her little head bumps. Some of it more noticeable than others, the little head bumps. She has them quite noticeable. They were in the same genus as crested geckos until the crested geckos were placed in Corallophus. Their care is quite similar. Gargoyle geckos are from New Caledonia, just as crested geckos, and it's an island between Papua New Guinea, Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. The temperature is on the cold side. In captivity, you don't have to provide them with a heat source if your room temperature doesn't go below 18 degrees, which is 64 Fahrenheit. Temperatures between 22 and 25 degrees, which is 70 to 77 Fahrenheit, are ideal. When you live in a place where it gets too hot in summer, or overall it's too hot, you need to make sure your geckos don't get overheated. They can develop neurological problems, which can cause you death. If the temperature gets around 30 degrees, which is 86 Fahrenheit or higher, you need to prevent this by cooling them with a fan or putting them in a cooler room. We live in the Netherlands, so here in summer it can be a little on the warmer side, but normally I can manage. In winter, here it can be cold, not too cold, but it can be cold. And in winter I provide her with a heating mat, so the temperature gets around 23, 24 Celsius, because it can be 16, 70 degrees or Celsius here in our room in the winter. But if you live in a climate where it's around 20, 21, 22 degrees, it's okay to, you don't need to provide them with a heat source or cool them down when it's too hot. Gargoyles are a arboreal species and they are nocturnal. They live in trees, between bark and leaves, and almost never go to the ground. You need to keep this in mind when setting up an enclosure. It's not a jump. When setting up an enclosure, height is more important than width. We call it width. Height is better. You almost never see them on the ground. Only when females need to lay eggs or when they need to shed their skin, they can go to the ground too, where it's more moist. Because they're nocturnal, you don't need to provide them with UVB light. It's different with animals living in deserts and are like they live in daylight. They need a higher source of UV. Gargoyle geckos don't need UV lighting. With a good food source, with good vitamins, with their minerals, you don't need UV. I've raised several gecko species that are nocturnal over the last couple of years without UV, and they've developed fine without bone or grow problems. I'm going to put her back because she's getting a little fired up. As you can see, she gets darker, which is called fired up. And she's nocturnal, so it's daylight, and I'm going to put her back. I have this female right now in an enclosure that's 50 by 50 by 50 centimeters, which is 20 by 20 by 20 inch. This is temporary because I'm building my own enclosures right now, or the backgrounds. Her new enclosure will be 50 by 60, which is 20 by 20 by 24 inch. with a natural looking background made of styrofoam, towel adhesive, acrylic paint, and a non-toxic varnish. And I did the same with this one, but it's a little smaller than her new enclosure. They get quite big and bulky, so I'll say that the minimum height for an adult gargoyle gecko needs to be at least 60 centimeters or 24-inch high. Please never put your gargoyle geckos together. They're a little more aggressive than crested geckos against each other. Although with them it's also better to keep them solitary when they're sub-adult and adult, your crested geckos. She lost her tail at a previous owner because she was kept together with a littermate in an enclosure big enough for both of them. They got in a fight and she lost her tail. Despite that, with gargoyles it grows back, as you can see, but it's stressful, and just to prevent more serious injuries, I keep them apart. Just keeping them together could result in more serious injuries than just losing her tail. The tail does look a little different after growing back. It has a different color and it's often a little shorter than the original tail. Crested geckos don't grow their tails back. So I've heard of geckos throwing off their tails because they saw their own reflection. Don't feel bad when your gecko has thrown its tail. It does happen, but just to prevent serious injuries, I keep them alone, apart from breeding them. I like my enclosures as natural as possible. I use, let's focus. I use soil and eco-earth with leaves mixed through it to keep the soil airy. So I mix the leaves through the eco-earth and the soil. Beneath the soil, make sure I have hydro grains to prevent the soil from getting too wet. I also put isopods and springtails in, so they clean up the poop, their excessive shed, or excessive skin, leftover food, mold, dead leaves, everything. They clean everything. So my enclosure keeps itself clean. It's an ecosystem that keeps itself clean. I use real plants. As you can see right here, I'll show the enclosure later. That way I can maintain the 70 to 80% humidity that's needed for the gargoyle gecko without misting them twice a day. So I mist her every once a day. I water the plants, humidity gets up, she drinks water from the leaves or the windows, and that way I don't have to over mist her tank or enclosure. I love the real plants because it looks more realistic, and yeah, it looks a lot better than using plastic plants. Her enclosure is with soil and leaves. Under its hydro grains, she has different sizes and kinds of branches, real plants. Her background is made with styrofoam, towel adhesive, and I pressed eco soil in it so it dried up. There's another plant. She has natural hides in her background, but normally she hides behind the bark. Right now she's up there being pretty. Hello, pretty girl. I painted one of her sides black because she's next to a window, and I wanted to prevent her from getting stressed of birds or seeing things outside and stuff. So I painted this black, so she has one dark side, her plants, and she gets light from the front and the top because on the other side there is another tank. This side is black too, so she can't see inside the other tank, which contains sun beetles. But she has two dark sides just to prevent her from getting stressed. She is, by the way, almost full grown. She's around 40 grams, and full grown is around 50 to 60 grams. Adult size with tail is around 20 centimeters, which is 8 inches. When they lost their tails, it can be a little shorter, but this is almost adult size. You can tell the difference between male and female when they will reach 15 grams, around 15 grams. Males will develop a bulge. Males will develop a bulge right there, just at the base of their tail. Let me focus. Just at the base of their tail, they will develop a big bulge where their hemipenises will be. They also will get more noticeable femoral and preanal pores right there between their behind legs, and females will lack them. They don't have them. So if you have juvenile gargoyle gecko and it develops a bulge, or you can see no bulge but you can see the femoral or preanal pores, it's probably a male. Sometimes you think you have a female and then it's sub-adult around 25 grams and bam, there's the bulge overnight. They are hard to sex at young age, but it's doable, and this is definitely a female. Their natural diet contains fruits and insects. They are a little more insect eaters than crested geckos are. I feed them Pangea, I think it's pronounced Pangea. Mine love the banana apricot version and the watermelon mango and the one with insects. If it's made, it looks like this. It smells delicious. It smells like banana and apricot. So, and they love this. They really love this. With this brand, I don't have to worry about vitamins or calcium or minerals because it contains everything. You can feed them food, like fruit, fresh fruit. But if you do that daily, you have to think about calciums and vitamins, and it's not complete. So this is complete. I've fed Ripashi and crested gecko diet, but they eat this better. And I find this, it smells better, this one, this brand. It smells like fruit, and that's okay. And they eat it right away. So I also feed crickets or dubia roaches once a week, and I gut load them. So I don't powder them with calcium or stuff. I gut load them with fresh fruits and veggies. But as I said, you can feed them fresh fruit. That's a possibility. But if you're going to feed that daily, think about the vitamins and minerals and calcium. Never ever give your gargoyle gecko or crested gecko or whatever fruit eating species jello cups or baby food. It's not nutritious for them. It's not made and adapted for their needs. Especially the jello cups contain a lot of added sugars and citric acid. I've heard a lot of geckos refusing their Pangea or Ripashi or crested gecko diet because they were addicted to the sugars and sweetness of the jello cups. And the jello cups don't contain nutrition for them, so they get bone deformities and they die. You also need to avoid citrus fruits and high acidic fruits like orange and pineapple. They can inhibit the absorption of calcium, causing bone deformity on long term. So don't give them a lot of oranges or citric fruits. You can feed them papaya, mango, banana, peach, apricot, or on occasion, not too much. I just stick with Pangea. You can order this online, by the way. I think you can order this everywhere online. Here in the Netherlands, you can go to an expo or you can order it online. I love it. Well, I think I've included a lot of information. If you want to know something more, just leave me a message or a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you everyone for watching, and see you in another Exotic 101.